There's a ship called the Sickness, and it is a plasmographic ship. What is that, you might wonder? Well, it's a living ship. What's a living ship? It seems like you're inside a human body is kind of what's going on, and it is weird. And then the sickness gets sick, and the sickness gets pregnant, and this book is really weird. If you like sci-fi and weird stuff, today we're going to talk about the Sixth Nik by Daniel Kraus. So I've read one other book by this author, Whalefall. It was awesome. I've also heard his other, another one of his books, like Angel Down or something, is supposed to be really freaking good too, but I haven't had a chance to get to that one. But I picked up this one. It is super weird. There's this planet that has gone rogue called Fem. There is this group of people that get assigned to go and kind of like figure out what the heck is happening with it. And then they're going to report back to like the UN Plus, which is, I guess, the federation of what kind of oversees everything at this state of time in this sci-fi story that we go into. And there's this 9-year-old girl named Sisela, and she is what is called a Nificock. Hopefully I'm saying that right. I don't really know. She has 6 Niks in her head, which is like AI augmented technology. And what that does is it just enhances all of their senses. So they can look at a person and tell if they're lying, and they can gather a lot of like information about them from doing that. And they call it like nicking them. And the thing with these Nifficocks is that they usually die around age 11 because their brain swells, and then that causes the head to like do whatever, and then they die. So then when they die, she is also Nificock like 55. So there's been 55 of them, and she's the 55. They all have like missions too, where they go and they do things to like help and save the world and fix stuff. And so she has a task that she's assigned, and that's like her whole life goal. And she's raised to do that. And, you know, she's really young, so she never sees anything wrong with what these people or her tribe is kind of grooming her towards working towards. And they're like this kind of Inuit people that she lives among, and they eschew technology, although they have a little bit. And then they have these weird nicks, and maybe this monetarily benefits them in ways that Sisela doesn't really realize because she's super young, and none of these Nifficocks live past the age of 11. And so when they do die, they cut off their heads, and then they remove the nicks, and then they put them in the next kid when they're like a baby and whatnot. So she's like the main character of this. So she goes through like a whole learning and growth and transformation as this goes on. It's really interesting to follow her story. And so she gets on this living ship, and there's this whole crew that's with her. There's this really angry, non-modded captain, Captain Arzan. And then when I say non-mod, that means the captain is never had any weird like modifications to whether it's his vision or, you know, plastic surgery or just augmentations, you know, think sci-fi stuff, you know, and whatnot in that vein. And so then you have the engineer, who is Jane May Marilyn Bardot, and she's had so much plastic surgery. And then she also says she's had like every STI known to man, which is a sexually transmitted infection, which comes into play later in a really weird effed up way with the living ship. And then you have like the medic, and it's this guy, Feng Shun, and he is basically addicted to peyote, and he's addicted to it because his lab got blown up, and he got kind of blown up in it, but he's being held together by these weird regenerating things that he's got going on. And then you also have this person called Murder 05, and they live by the tenets of murder. They do not murder innocents, and they're going to be Sisela's bodyguard. They also brought a dog that is called Positive Roy. It's like a little dachshund dog, which I guess is encouraged on living ships and whatnot. And then the captain also has like this weird robot that he calls Bess. And Sisela doesn't really like these robots or bots because when Sisela was really little, they got knocked into a hole, and that freaked her out. And then she can't really nick a robot because you can't really read emotions from a freaking machine. So she doesn't like or trust that. Okay, so that's everybody. And so they are all going to have to work together to go and see what's up with this planet, why the planet's gone rogue. They kind of wanted to be a sovereign nation, and then the UN Plus said no. And then after that, they cut off communication. And then their moon, it seems like, is in distress. And their moon is like an aquatic moon with sea life on it and whatnot. And it seems like something bad is happening to that as well. And there's been like weird distress signals. So their job is to go and find out what the F is going on this planet. And the people that are on this planet, they had all had this like plague, and they were kind of like sent there to get them off of Earth because they got this, it was like this weird genetic and airborne disease that they got where they got it from like sheep, where their hair would grow and it would grow inside their bodies and it wouldn't stop and it would like choke them and it would strangle their organs and come through their noses and bust out their ears. And so they were all sent to this planet with hopes of maybe, I don't know, surviving or not surviving or just so they go there and it's like a metal planet, and apparently on the planet the seas are metal and it's like a weird kind of desert-ish almost planet, but they're sent with a bunch of stuff so that they can kind of terraform it and whatnot. So you have like half the book is spent on this effed up living ship. And so the first part, you get to know the characters and what they're like, and Sisla for the first time in their life feels like she's actually met friends. Oh, and she's not supposed to feel and have emotions, right? So what happened when she had her Niks installed, the guy who did it, his hands shook so bad when he installed them. One of her Niks got like caught in her eye and she could feel it. So at some point, when she's younger, she digs it out. And so her eye is like magenta for the rest of her life. And she says she like fell and hit her face on something or other. So her Sixth Nik is not inside her body, and this is a secret that she carries around. And so because of that, it seems like she has more emotions and she feels things, but she fakes that she doesn't have these emotions. But she makes these connections with these people and that kind of start to open her eyes to like, hey, maybe what these people groomed you to do isn't all that it should be, and this, that, and the other. And she starts to see things different ways, and they go through all this craziness. And the ship too, like it's plasma graphics. It's supposed to respond to like all the needs of the people on the ship and whatnot. But it seems like someone is out to get Sisla and stuff doesn't always go as planned. And then like the ship ends up pregnant, it seems. There's like a weird placenta in this weird area of the ship. And then at some point, the ship, they go into like a stasis mode when they're traveling because they're going to this planet. It's like 170,000 light years away. They go into stasis, but then they get woken up early because parts of this living ship start attacking them and stuff gets crazy. So do they ever make it to this fem planet? Were they sabotaged by someone on the ship? Were they working with someone from Fem? Is someone hacking into the ship? Like, what is happening? Well, obviously I know it's happening because I read it. It's really awesome. Sometimes I have a hard time getting into sci-fi, and I lean more fantasy a lot of times, but I really liked this author in the prior book that I'd read by him, and it's really good. It's emotional, it's weird, it's gripping. There's so many different layers to it, and like there's so many different points in the story that just like takes you on this epic journey that's so messed up and partially deranged, and some of the crap that happens, you're just like, what the F? Oh man, if you like weird as heck sci-fi, this is really well done. It is a page turner. It really didn't take me that long to get into it either. And yeah, there's a lot of like weird words with like the stuff with like the Nifakok and whatever. I'm probably saying that wrong. I don't feel like I'm saying that right. But there's not a whole lot of that. And just the story is so interesting and intriguing and effed up. And the whole journey of Sisla as a person and what they go through and all the craziness that ensues. This is an amazing sci-fi book, and if any of that sounds good, I would say definitely check it out. I would highly recommend it. Also, if you enjoyed hanging out today, hit that subscribe button, come back, see me again, and we'll talk about more bookish things and weird stuff.